Hobby Now. I'm your host, ZiggyNo. Today is January 3rd, 2024. First Hobby Now of the new year. Excited. This year is the year for Hobby Now and for the Card Hunter. If you're not following it, check out the Card Hunter. I'm super excited. Today is January 3rd. It's Prizm release day. Let me tell you, man, I'm exhausted with Prizm. I've been breaking Prizm since I think it was Thursday or Friday night. The guy started getting breaks. We're going to talk about that. I don't want to go off track here. Look, we're going to talk about Prizm. We're going to talk about Bowman Draft. Sapphire dropped today, January 3rd, sold out in minutes. We're going to talk about the strength of the hobby, the heartbeat. We're checking on the barometer. We're going to look at some recap videos. People did a lot of what their goals are for collecting, what their goals are, recaps for last year. We'll talk about that. I'm going to give you some tips, some videos out on grading and how much grading's been going on and all the grading. Some really good insights. We'll talk about that as well. Um, lawsuits. I heard there might be a class action lawsuit against Fanatics from the consumers. Talk about that as well. That's important. And then listen, I have some ideas I'd like to leave with you guys on some games slash products for sports cards and see if you think this might work. One for kids. It was inspired by listening to Dr. Beckett's video or podcast earlier in the week. With that being said, guys, thank you very, very much for joining me. Man, I have had just great. First of all, I love the hobby, and there's nothing I love more about the hobby than chasing Prizm. In the past, I'm more of a Prizm basketball fan. I have focused very much researching, going after breaks, looking at prices, first off the line, retail, and all this I'm documenting on the Card Hunter, my new channel. Check out the Card Hunter on YouTube. It was on Fantasy Football Quest today, live with Andy, talking about some of the excitement, some of the stuff I'm doing in breaks. Shared some numbers, how much I've already spent. I'm not going to share that with you here. Check it out on the Card Hunter or check out his video. I just came out of a break tonight where I had amazing luck. Got two phenomenal cards. I would say right now, with what I have invested into breaks, I feel good. I feel very good. I have one more break that's going to roll tomorrow. I think it's 6 o'clock. And after that, I'm gonna chill. I'm gonna let my cards come back from the breaks, sort what we've captured and killed, and decide what we're gonna send off for grading and whatnot. We'll do some, videos. We'll assess some of the thoughts. I definitely have some lessons learned, but I'm not planning to do any more breaks, which is, I'll be honest, is one of the hardest parts is the discipline to know when to turn it on and when to turn it off. Because this is, my friends, this is gambling. Sports cards are gambling. Breaking is just playing poker. Okay. Everybody likes to go to the casinos, and that's what sports cards are. Maybe you like the what's it, those table games. Maybe you like the Keno game, right? That's what like the series one is. Others play poker, and that's what breaking is. What was really interesting this week, retail is out and was out early. Retail Prism blasters are dropping last week. I want to say Thursday, maybe Friday. I got in some breaks on that stuff early. First of the line was out last week too, Thursday, Friday, made it through the weekend and some of that. Today is the first day Hobby's been out. And I've been in and I've sat through several breaks. I've watched lots of cases. I've seen some amazing stuff. I will say this year's Prizm is a really, really sexy product. And I'm a biased bastard and I'm an asshole when it comes to Panini most time. But there are some really sexy inserts in this product. They really went out of their way, in my opinion, to add those inserts to add value. I think because they knew they didn't have the autographs. I will say a lot of Patrick Mahomes. I'm seeing Patty Mahomes like rain and fire. He's got a blueprint card that's gorgeous, a profile card that I thought was gorgeous. I saw his manga card. He is just, I've seen a lot of his stuff. I really have. Like, I honestly, in the last few days, I've seen more Mahomes than I have CJ Stroud or anybody else as far as big hits. I did see some CJ Strouds. I saw a to 35 red shimmer CJ Stroud pulled. I saw a break where a guy got two CJ Strouds in the same break. They were both hobby box, like I think a 199 and a 275 or something like that, but still two CJ Strouds in the same break. And I'll leave it at that. I don't want to talk too much about breaking. I do think it's the future. I think you'll see more of that. That's why I'm going to be focusing on that and kind of showing. It's funny. I keep hearing people talk about breaking. I only get 10% return. I only get 10% return. Well, I'm going to prove that wrong. I'm pretty confident I can prove you get better than 10% return. Um, Bowman Draft Sapphire dropped today. This is something I bring up because, again, budgeting, allocating my funds, selling stuff off to support my addiction slash habit. And Bowman Draft Sapphire dropped today. It wasn't Montgomery Club exclusive. It was to the open public. And I looked at it. It was $380 a box. I had it in my cart. I got there before it sold out. And I decided not to do it. I looked at the checklist. I will be honest. I switched over to the checklist. Look for two things. There was no Tom Brady base card. There was no Tom Brady in the autograph list. So to me, I knew it wasn't going to be as hot a product as the regular Bowman draft is. And here's my thought on this. I like draft and I like Bowman products because they're prospecting. But in those products, you need to hit now, hit hard, and hit fast to get your money back when you're spending that much money on those cards. And I also thought to myself, I believe, and I said this going into my one of my New Year's resolutions is no more retail, right? No more personal retail boxes. I will buy retail breaks. And not as many direct boxes. So I decided I'd rather buy breaks of the Bowman draft than I will buy Bowman draft. So I might spend the 380 in some Bowman draft breaks and see how I do with that. Kind of compare. Was it better to buy a break or was it better to buy a box? Normally I do two boxes or two, what would have been equivalent to two boxes and breaks to test that. But it sold out fast. I mean, it sold out quick, really, really quick. And again, I think to myself, I know a lot of people are expecting, or are they expecting Tom Brady to be in it? How many people go, oh, Tom Brady's not in it? Or did I miss something? Was he on the checklist and I missed it? I will say it's one thing I like at Tops. I love Tops like checklists and the odds they give. They give much better details than Panini does in those aspects, in my opinion. So on end of the year, one of the things I love to follow are the big hits. And I have to say that I think it's If Sports Cards, Ian, probably has cemented himself as the best show for looking at big hits. A lot of shows have come and gone in the last 4 or 5, 6 years doing the big hits for breakers. There was one who did it. He was up to 10,000 views or whatever. Ian just broke 50,000. But the reason I say that is Ian does a good job. He's sponsored by, I think, Whatnot and PSA. That's not important. I don't even know why I'm mentioning it, but he's sponsored, but he does it in a very controlled sense, very accurate. He has people submitting stuff for him. And I love watching his videos because it shows you the strength in the market. When the low card of the top 10 for the week is $1,000 card, and these are people pulling in breaks or in retail, whatever the video might be, it shows you the strength of the current market, not how much your Herberts are worth. Herberts, in my opinion, are dead. The Burrows, dead. I don't care about those guys. But in the current market, the current consumption of modern products and rookie classes, that market is still very, very strong. And that's what that show shows you. I mean, it's amazing to me. And he did the end of year one where he showed you the big hits over the year. And somehow some of those big hits even became bigger hits as the year went on based on how their performance went, right? Or they went lower, or whatever. But it was just really good vision. And I think back to, I used to watch Baseball Card Collector, Investor, Dealer. He did the eBay top 10 hits or 10 top 10 sales every week. And that was a barometer of what was selling. I think that's another one to watch, but I really love seeing these hits coming out of modern products. It inspires me. It inspires me. I just hit on my buttons and messed something up. So one of the videos, one of the topics, I feel like I'm moving kind of fast through my conversation day. So one of the topics I'd like to talk about next is grading, right? In the year-end videos looking at grading and all the grading, I think 14 million cards graded by PSA last year. Amazing numbers. Like 11 million the year before, 10 million or something like that. Many people projecting on how many will be graded in the future. I saw a video on HGA's only graded 1,500 a month, and the other graders are doing well. At the filming of this, PSA announced $15 grading on modern. That's pretty good, considering, we used to be at 8 and then we were at 100 something or 48 or some crazy number. Now we're down to 15. That's pretty cool. But when I was thinking about all that grading, somebody, I want to say it was Neo, brought to the attention that most of it, even on the PSA side, is TCG, Pokemon. I love saying Pokemon. Um, Lorcana, all those other cards. And it made me think to myself, are sports cards the gateway to TCG? Like, how many people do you think came into sports cards in 2020, got the just bejesus beat out of them in the last few years in sports cards, or lost interest in it, but because there's all these TCG games, the complexity is not there. You don't even know the different versions and different products and the different parallels and different numbers, and there's many more children in it. I think that a lot of fathers are doing Pokemon and TCG with their kids, and they taking over the experience of grading from sports cards to the grading of Pokemon cards. I'm curious, and I guess we could do this. Look at Terapeak data on sales, but it just made me think to myself, maybe maybe sports cards are the gateway. They're the cigarettes to the drug, which is Pokemon and TCG. Isn't that crazy to think that? Huh. Had another thought, disappeared. It will come back. Other end of your videos. I watch a lot of end of your videos. Victor on goals, being goal oriented. Mike's retro, great end of your content. Mike's retro. Neo had some, his best flips, biggest hits, some of his best cards. Little Victories had a great video on his quarterly sales and how they're down but still doing well. A lot of really good summary videos, and I learned a lot from these stuff. Stuff I'm taking away. Like, I'm going to put some goals. I'm going to start documenting some stuff. Start focusing in on what I'm grading. I'm still sticking to the principles, getting cards, acquiring them through breaks, in my opinion, taking those raw cards and grading them, and then selling those. Um, One of the things that I guess biggest takeaway from all those is tracking your activity, right? Track your activity for your own sanity, if not for your finances and all the other financial reasons. Track it for your own sanity. I'm wondering, QuickBooks currently, like I know Little Victories, I think was showing a spreadsheet. Maybe I forget who it was. And I've always used spreadsheets, but I'm thinking QuickBooks, and Neo mentioned QuickBooks. So I'm curious for anybody watching or listening to the podcast or the show, your thoughts. What are your takeaways? What are you doing differently this year? I'm not talking about collecting, I'm going after a different guy. I'm talking like logistically in the back end. Are you keeping your receipts? Are you shipping in different envelopes? What little things are you doing to make your business better? I'll tell you, for example, I go to priority on almost everything. I ship everything at priority. I'm thinking about changing that. Maybe find a different shipper this year. Maybe using pirate ship or something like that. I had to ship something recently, and I went to the post office, and I'm paying like $20 to ship it. And this was for a Funko Pop. Now it was a $3 Funko Pop, but anyway, just made me think about that. Another end of year video that I thought was really, let me give a quick shout out to Crosstown Video. He was the one who did this spreadsheet breaking down his sales data, not Little Victories. Crosstown Cardboard, great video, by the way. I think he even shared the Google document. Um, Sports Card or SCV, Santa Cruz Valley Sports Card did a really good video on his end of year goals and moving next year and his big plan on selling and buying and revenue goals, which I thought really interesting. I will say I don't agree with everything he says, but I love the guy's content. I really do. Love his content. I love the fact he answers everybody's questions too. Let me transition here. One of the other videos I thought caught my attention was the Brian Gray discussion last Saturday night with Jeremy Lee. Really interesting insights. I'm not going to go over the whole thing, but the points I have here is Brian Gray is the grandfather or father of repacks, which is so funny because I hate repacks. But I will say, after listening to that video, I'm not going to say I like repacks. I'm not going to say I support repacks, but I understand it. Like, I understand it like the person who's trying to get drugs off the street, but realizes, okay, I'm going to have to hand needles out. Like, I'd like to get repacks off the street, but if I can't get them off the street, maybe I need to hand out, you know, um, repack kits, or I don't know, make it a safer world. And I thought Brian made some very good points on repacks. It gives me heartburn. It made me though want to talk to him. I'll put it that way. It made me want to talk to him and listen. And it made me want to. I thought I love Jeremy, his show and his conversations. My biggest critique to Jeremy is he's just too soft. He's too easy. He doesn't ask some deeper questions. You could tell Brian was like sharing some dirt on some stuff. I would love to have a conversation with Brian, get more insight on some of the stuff he's trying to do. He was talking about disruptive solutions, some stuff he's done in the past. Let me give you an example. I think there's a market right now for political cards, political autograph cards, pack pulled with odds and chasers. I really do. And I think you could put some pretty cool relics in there as well. Um, and right now, going into 2024 election season, I think there's an absolute opportunity to do that. So Brian Gray, or anybody out there, if you're listening to me, I'd love to reach out to Brian. In fact, I did go to his website and send him a message. But this is one of the ideas I think we need. Not that I'm going to go do it, but I'm in the DC area. I could easily go down to DC though, to Chicago, to the Congress, and get autographs. Like those bastards love to give you autographs. Not love to, but you could do it, right? I could several ways you could do it. You could get staffers, you could get some what's it, the news media. There's so many people that you could get, autographs of. I just think that'd be a fun political chase product, and I'm thinking, has it been done? I know there's like normally you go after like the presidents of that, but has there been? And maybe even make it a satire. Could do some pretty cool artwork with it, some kabowies, or we take a political statement. Again, I just think there's a market there for some political cards that would be fun, and you don't have to worry about licensing, right? So uh, anyway, I'm going off on that one. I do want to talk about the other one though, because it's actually another idea I have. And this came to me listening to Brian Gray and listening to Dr. Beckett. Dr. Beckett made a comment about getting young kids. I forget it was young kids at the dollar bin. Young kids don't have the attention span to go through the dollar bin looking at cards, to identify things, to find value, right? kids, kids 10, 12, whatever, they're great at going and wheeling and dealing. And, basically they mirror their parents. So you see a smart kid, he's been well coached by his parents. I have 6 kids. Trust me on that one. I feel very strongly on that. But there's a supporter, an influencer behind these wise little young Jedi Knights. My thought, though, from what he was saying about how important it is that little kids can't pay attention to a box, right? And I'm also thinking to myself, one of the biggest problems I see in the sports card hobby is there's so goddamn many base cards. I mean, I've got uh, here's a bunch of base cards right here. Look at this, a bunch of base cards, and they're in my throwaway bin. What that means, I'll give them away, donate them, send them to a local. I normally donate them to the Boys and Girls Club, or I ship them to friends of mine who collect cards for their, for charities, whatever. But my thought was, what if follow me. And I'm just sharing this idea for the first time here on Hobby Now. I'm gonna do a shorter video and talk about this, and I'd love to share this with Brian Gray or somebody else who can make this happen. So I'm making this public right now. Imagine a game where you get, say, 20 cards. They're common, useless, just valueless, nobody important cards, guys. Okay. They are cards I'm ready to throw away. They're base cards. But of those 20 cards, there were 10 questions about them. You could give those 20 cards to, 2, 3, 5, 8, 10-year-old and say, look, 20 cards, find me all the cards that start with M, have a big M in them. And the little kid has to go through them and find all the Mets, right? And again, it's not just an M, it has the letter, it says Mets in it or whatever. So you're finding different teams. Find me all the players who, find the 2 players who are duplicates, 2 parallels out of the 20 cards, right? You see what I'm saying? It's a matching game. And the matching game can get more challenging based on the age level. So the first ones are find me the M, or find me the 2 Johns, or find me the 2 guys who are parallels. The more complicated ones might be find me the ones whose birthdays are in June. Find me the ones whose batting average is blah, 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 blah. But you'd have statistical or numbers or something that you would know off of those 10 or 20 useless, worthless cards, that you could have a list of maybe 10 or 10 questions that the parent could give to the kid. And this game could be played in a car, could be played on the, on the plane, could be played when you're sitting at the sports card show opening packs. And it's teaching them patience and identifying in detail and reading and learning. And you can buy a set that, and here's where I think you can do it, right? You basically build a software little app, that in the app, it takes a category of cards. So you get a category of, say, 1,000 cards, common, useless junk cards. Let's see, we start with baseball. So we'll take, series 1, useless base cards. And we'll find 10 commonalities of those, each one attributes of those cards. And those attributes get shuffled into the database. And then the database, based on whichever 10 cards you have of the 1,000, If you have any of these 10 cards, you can play the game. See what I'm saying? So it becomes an app game where the father, the parent can simply say, hey, I see you've got the, set 442. That's the set I just gave you of 20 random cards. You should be able to answer these questions. Find me all the ones with, a Met on it. Find me all the ones where the guy's last name is Soto. Find me all the ones where the birthdays are in June. Does this make sense at all? Hopefully it does. But my thoughts again, you're getting rid of junk cards. I mean, this is something no one wants. You're giving the young collectors, you're getting them to engage, to collect, to pay attention, to read, to maybe collect the team more than the value of the card, right? Maybe even some collectability where I don't know, there's some randomness in what they could find either. I don't know, right? You start attributing that with the app. Low hanging fruit idea. Anyway, those are my two ideas that came to me as far as games. And this was again inspired by listening to Brian Gray and Dr. Beckett earlier this week. So I'm gonna summarize what I'm doing now. But before I do it, let's just go back, recap what we talked about tonight. Prizm retail out before hobby. Let me just give you some highlights. I think retail blaster boxes. I hate to say it, I think it's a waste. I'm not bullish on it at all. There's no numbered cards in it. Very few good parallels. It's just I have to tell myself that. I bought a lot of it, and I tell myself don't buy the blaster boxes. I'll look at the megas and see what happens when those come out, but the blasters, I gotta stop doing that. First off the line is delicious. Absolutely delicious. It's going to be too expensive in a few weeks to get into that anymore. And God, I love the hobby boxes. Fade the retail. Bowman Draft Sapphire. I sat it out. I'm gonna jump in some breaks. I'll tell you guys how I do it on the Card Hunter. Check that out on my channel there. Big hits. Ian did the yearly big hits and the wrap up of the year shows you the strength of the hobby. Hobby's doing well. Are sports cards guys going in the TCG? Are we crossing over the other way? Because I think more of us are going that way and taking our knowledge of grading that way, and now they're all grading, and that's why grading's going up on that side. Grading's strong. Don't underestimate the power of grading. Um, another point Brian Gray brought up, he was very critical of Arena Club. The fact that they buy raw cards, they grade raw cards, and they repack them. I thought that was excellent. He brought that up. I applaud him for doing that. Really big fan of that. A lot of end of goal videos were great this week. Victor, Retro, Neo, Crosstown, SCV, so many. Class action lawsuit. I forgot to mention that, but there's a class action lawsuit I hear going out on Fanatics. A lot of litigation going on. Litigation, one of the words of 2024, Retro Mike guys. Unfortunately, litigation, regulation, words we just sometimes don't want to hear when we're, young, optimistic libertarians to believe in free markets. But unfortunately, litigation regulation makes shit happen. And I think the hobby is actually getting better in 2024. I'm excited. I really am. I'm very bullish. I really love Card Hunter. I really love what I'm doing there. I absolutely love the breaks. I'm going to put the brakes on the breaks for a while, build some other content, and then focus on getting ready for whatever next break Safari will be coming up. Now, again, I'm not done with Prizm football, but as you see, if you follow my content, I've done a lot of Prizm football, and I did some Donruss football, a couple other things. But hobby's great right now. Big fan of that. Grading PSA, sent some cards over there. Also got my very first. Check it out, guys. I got two Zion boxes. This is the little one. Then I got the big one as my main storage hub. Super excited about that. Looking forward to Chantilly this spring. Autographs. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you guys for all your support. It really means a lot to me. Happy New Year. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Peace out.